All praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Makar Kwadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, and Shalom to the nation of Israel. I was just watching some videos of Israelites, man, which is the thing that most brothers do which is the thing that most brothers do anyway, that makes the time in a day go by, man. We watch videos and we learn more and more and more in several different ways, man. And one of the ways that I was learning today is how wicked our people are, man, and how much they hate the Bible, man. And one particular video, right, like a very short video, was a video that I saw that the IUIC had did, and it was like only 3 minute video, man, and it was just showing all the scoffers that have been coming up against what they've been saying about how we're Israelites, man, right? Because regardless of whatever Israelites say, whatever they say, the one thing that every single group of Israelites believe in is that we're the Israelites, man, the Negro, Latino, and Native American. And there is some bug out ones that I've heard that teach some other things, but I ain't talking about them. I'm talking about all the Israelites that believe that the Negro, Latino, and Native Americans are the Israelites. They all teach that particular point and all believe that particular point, man. But people hate that. Like people shoot at them. People like try and fight them, right? People will complain that they're telling people to correct their ways and not dress like whores, right? But then a homosexual, right, a weird freak wearing a dress will stand next beside you, and then you ain't got nothing to say to them, and you'll actually be siding with a person that has has is doing that, man. And that's why we have to sometimes, as Israelites, we have to fall back, man. And like, if we see that the people that are agreeing with whatever particular point we've made are bogged out, clamorous women, or grimy 2/3, right? Then we need to reject whatever that particular belief that we have is, man. We need to like be like, you know what? Maybe I'm going off because the people that are agreeing with me are wicked, man. And what you should see on this video, if I've made it the right way, is you'll see a continual changing of images, and you'll see our women being dressing like harlots, right, with crazy ass hairstyles, and you'll see the men of our nation, the Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans. You'll see that they're in gangs, man, and they're just criminals with their trousers hanging low, just looking ridiculous as hell, man. And that's because they don't know who they are. This is Isaiah chapter 1, and when they hear who they are, they don't care. And it's lucky for all my talking, but now I'm gonna get into some scriptures, man. This is Isaiah chapter 1 and verse 3. The ox knoweth his owner, and the ass his master's crib, but Israel doth not know, my people doth not consider. They don't know who they are. They don't know who Yahweh is. They don't care who Yahweh is. They don't care about the sacrifice of Yahweh Shai, right? They just want to be able to carry on doing whatever madness they've been doing, man. They really could care less about the scriptures. They don't care, man. These people don't haven't become so passionate against something ever in their life the way that they have about the scriptures, man. They haven't did that. Verse 9, except the How of hosts had left unto us a very small remnant, we should have been like Sodom, and we should have been like unto Gomorrah. And he's looking at Yahweh has left people that believe and still call upon his name, man. Because what these other bugged out Israelites don't realize, these 2/3, I ain't even gonna call them Israelites. What are these people that want to be black, or want to be Mexican, or want to be Latino, or want to be Native American don't understand, right? Is that if it wasn't for the people that believe in Yahweh, then our whole nation would be destroyed, man. Our whole nation would be destroyed. But they'd rather be on some gang stuff, right? A gang member is gonna get more praise in this world than a righteous person, a person trying to be righteous. Anyway, let me say it like that. And that's why when the destruction comes, we're not gonna care about these people, man. We're not gonna care, and Yahweh's every day showing us why it is that we shouldn't care. Let me go to this scripture first, in fact, because these people are stiff necked, man, and that's why it's a beautiful thing if you're a brother or a sister that's heard about a Hebrew Israelite thing and you haven't, like, you might not be 100% sure or persuaded in your own mind, but you haven't scoffed, right? And you still have said in your mind, well, this is still better than the alternatives of what our people are doing. And you haven't scoffed, you haven't tried to like go against it, you haven't tried to bun it out. right? You've just said, I'm gonna research and see if what they're saying is true. And then if you have the elect, you'll find out that it is true. You find out that the things that we've been getting taught that's in the Bible from the churches is not in there, right? That whole God loves everybody stuff is not in there. And the simplest way to prove that God doesn't love everybody is found in the book of Genesis, because he chose Noah, right? And he didn't choose everybody else. Jacob and Esau are twins, but he made a differentiation between them. During the Tower of Babel, when everybody was in unity, he caused different languages to make them not be in unity. He didn't want them to be unified. And people can say, oh, that's because they was doing wickedness. Well, yeah, and they're doing wickedness now. And every nation coming together, right, is always going to bring wickedness unless the Israelites are the ones in charge. And even when we're in charge as Israelites in our kingdom, we're not going to be joined on with these people. We're going to be ruling over them with a rod of iron, man. They're going to have to follow God's ways, and that's the only option that they're going to be given. It's going to be follow God's ways, or you're going to be judged with a rod of iron. That's the only option that's going to be given. Because that's the only option that makes this world be ruled properly, man. Everything else has been tried already. Women's rights has been tried. It's getting tried right now. And the fruits of it are vile. Alphabet doctrines has been tried, and the fruits of it are vile. Fog life, the fruits of that have been tried, and the fruits of that are vile. Deuteronomy chapter 9 and verse 13. Furthermore, Yahweh spake unto me, saying, I have seen this people, and behold, it is a stiff-necked people, and our nation is very stiff-necked, man. The women are so proud, right? And they think that they've got it together, but they really don't know anything, man. Like they'll argue with a man telling women not to be harlots, right? And they'll say you can wear whatever you want to wear. But really, if they was to see a man dressed like a weirdo of our nation, then all of a sudden the scrutiny comes in. Like, what this world did a very good job of doing, man, is being liberal and being like, oh, it's whatever it is, whenever anybody else is talking, right? But as soon as an Israelite man opened his mouth to say one word, right, now the whole world falls down on him to tell him to be quiet, man. The whole world will say, be quiet, shut up, stop talking. We don't want to hear what you've got to say. Whether you're rich or not. It doesn't matter how much money we have in this world, we're still going to be looked at as less than a dog, man. As less than a dog, as less than an animal in this world. And let me get some more scriptures. And this is the reason why, man. These Israelites don't realize this is the reason why. They're dying all the time, man. Because they've rejected Yahweh. Hosea chapter 4 and verse 6. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. Because thou hast rejected knowledge, I will also reject thee. And what's the knowledge that they rejected? The knowledge that they're Israelites. The knowledge that if they kept and followed after righteousness, then they would receive the blessings. But they didn't do that. So therefore they received the curses. And them curses are still on us right now, man. And that's why there's a whole bunch of mental illness in our society, in our community, right? Among our people, that gets like mulled over and gets looked at as though it's like he's being tough and he's being a gangster or whatever, right? But really that's a mental illness there. He's got a mental disease infected and plaguing his mind, right? That's the reason why he'll be the toughest guy going, right? He'll become Clint Eastwood with the revolver when it comes to his own people, right? But he'll come a shoe shine boy when it comes to Esau. You know, you wouldn't have ever known that this guy could speak such Queen's English, so-called Queen's English, when it comes to Esau. But when he's talking to you, it's slang this, slang that, N-word this, N-word that, black this, black that, mother effer this, mother effer that. That's what you'll be hearing when our people are talking to each other, right? And as far as the women goes, man, don't even get me started on how the women get down when it comes to dealing with us versus dealing with anybody else, right? They're even more wicked and evil. Hosea chapter 4 and verse 6. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. Because thou hast rejected knowledge, I will also reject thee, that thou shalt be no more that thou shalt be no priest to me, seeing thou hast forgotten the law of thy power, I will also forget thy children. And these children right here, like these adults are part of those forgotten children, man. And the next generation of children that was to get made after these, man, they are gonna be they would be, if Yahweh didn't destroy this earth, they would be some of the biggest demons going, man. Right? And let me see if I can find, yeah, here we go. Let's talk about this generation, right? Let's talk about it, man. This is Proverbs chapter 30 and verse 11. There is a generation that curseth their father and doth not bless their mother. And that's this generation, man. Like, if you don't agree with your parents in this world, because our parents might have did things that are not righteous, man. Right? Our parents might not want to guide us in the right way. And if we be around them, then it's gonna cause us to be in snares, man. Right? So some people might just say, well, you know what? I'm just gonna stay away from my family. But it's this generation will burn them out, man. They'll punch up their own mom. They'll beat up their dad. They'll swear at their dad and bun their dad out for not being around the mother, right? But the mom was treating your dad, I mean, the same way as the women that you've got with now in your life are treating you. The same way how all the women that you're getting with, right, are bunning you out and cursing you out every single time you do something wrong. That's the same way how your mom was going on towards your dad, right? Or for you women on your women's side of this same scenario, the same way how you're running the men, running your mouth towards the men in your life. That's the same way how your mom was running her mouth towards your dad, and that's the reason why he wasn't around. Because the scriptures even say that it's better to dwell on a rooftop than in the house with a contentious woman. So it's better if, even with how these houses over here in the UK are slanted triangle-shaped roofs, right? It would be better if you took your memory foam mattress, slung it on top of the roof, right? Got yourself a ladder, right? Climbed up on top of that and slept on top of the roof and risked sliding down and cracking your head open in the night while you're asleep. That's actually better than sleeping in the house with a contentious woman, because she's going to be poking you in your head while you're trying to sleep, right? She's gonna be like a unwanted alarm, man, that you can't press the snooze button on. She's gonna be an unwanted alarm all up in your ear, running her mouth, telling you how badly you're doing things, right? But if you was to analyze her life and how she's doing things, she ain't did things right with you, and she ain't did things right with the other 50 guys that might have been before you, right? And then even after she's done dealt with 50 guys, she'll still have an offense with you calling her a harlot. But if a woman's had 50 men, she's clearly showing that she does not know, right? She does not know how to pick a husband. That is not one of her skills, man. Proverbs chapter 30 and verse 11. There is a generation that curseth their father and doth not bless their mother. There is a generation that are pure in their own eyes and yet is not washed from their filthiness. And that's this world. You'll have a girl that might be 14 years old and she wants to dress like an adult, right? Causing confusion. So she'll be young, but then she'll try and dress old. And then when people confuse that she's older than she is, now that man's an animal and that man's a demon for confusion that she's older. And you see this happen all the time on the internet. There'll be these young girls that are dressing like they think they're grown, right? And then when they get treated like they're grown, then they try and treat people like they're animals, man. And it's a whole, like, confusing society. The whole way of how things are run in this world is wicked, man. And our people love to have it so. They love it, man. And those videos that I watched today, right, are further proof, man, that our people just hate Yahweh Shai. Really, that's what it is. They hate Yahweh Shai. And more than that even, they hate Yahweh. Then these are just people that are not of the elect, man. Proverbs chapter 13, verse 13. There is a generation, oh, how lofty are their eyes, and their eyelids are lifted up. And there's a particular, like, template image, man, of our women, man, right? There's a particular template image, and it's in all of the tribes, man. It's in the northern kingdom and it's in the southern kingdom, and it's like that gelled hair, right? The gelled hair that the girls used to do when I was younger. They'd like gel their hair with a toothbrush and like paste it down, glue their hair to the top of their head, right? Then they have the big eyelashes. Then they have the like claw talon nails, right? Then they have the weird pink colored hair. Red's the normal favorite to go to, red hair, right? Then they have like the colored eyelids, right? And then they have the high heels, and they might be wearing like a dress that's short, that it's so short that it can't really cover her glutes, right? It can't really cover her behind, but she's clearly wants her behind to be shown, but then she's always trying to fix it and adjust it to try and make it go. You know what I mean? And then on top of that, they'll have this long hair that's not theirs, right? And it's just a weird, like weird demonic template. It's that queen spirit, you know? Quean, not Queen, Quean, which is pretty much, when you look it up, thanks to the elders and the apostles that have brought this out, what the apostles and the elders that brought this out, it really just means like a harlot, man. So when they're running around calling themselves queens, they're professing what they really are, which is a harlot, man. But then they're not clean from their filthiness, but they still want to be viewed as though they're cleansed from their filthiness, man. Proverbs chapter 30 and verse 12. There is a generation that are pure in their own eyes, and yet is not washed from their filthiness. So it's very well and good for us. Anyone can say that they're pure in their own eyes, right? I could say all day how pure I am in my own eyes, but then as soon as I get around some brothers, they'll start looking and they'll be able to see whether that's true or not, right? We can always say how pure we are, how righteous we are, our own selves. That's what our people love to do. And then they like to say, have you sinned? Well, then you can't tell me nothing. That's what they like to say. That's what they like to say, man. As if really a person that's never did nothing wrong has to come to them and say anything to them. But when the police show up, they have also sinned, and hems them up on the wall, and they're all crunched up, folded up, they're in a full Nelson hold, right? All hemmed up on the wall, getting smacked up. Now we're supposed to feel sorry for them, man. But these are the same people that around your neighborhood would have been grimy towards you. Proverbs chapter 30 and verse 14, there is a generation whose teeth are as swords, and their jaw teeth as knives, to devour the poor from off the earth and the needy from among men. Right? They're just evil towards their own people, man. They're just, oh my days. And that really is for our nation. But then also it's covering every single nation, man. Because even among the other nations, there's like just decadent, like, I don't even know what the word I'm looking for is, man. They're just bogged out, man. There's just a lot of evil among them, right? Let me get this scripture. Because a lot of these women have been causing for the longest time the men of our nation to die, man. Right? And people can say whatever they want to say. Oh, you're always talking about women. Well, women are wicked too, man. Right? I spoke about men in this lesson, and I'm going to speak about women too. Because they're wicked too, man. They don't want to be called whores. But what would you call a woman that slept with 30 guys? What would you call her? She slept with 30 guys and hasn't had a relationship that lasts longer than 2 years. What would you call that? An accountant. Obviously, we know what the name of it is called. We know. But the reason why a lot of you women get annoyed by hearing that is because that is what you are. Proverbs chapter 5 and verse 1. My son, attend unto my wisdom, and bow thine ear to my understanding, that thou mayest regard discretion, and that thy lips may keep knowledge. For the lips of a strange woman, which when you look it up and goes into strange woman, it's regarding a whorish woman, right? For the lips of a strange woman drop as a honeycomb, and her mouth is sweeter than oil. Because when one of these women that might look good, but they're a whore, right? They're a whorish woman, and they're talking to you, they're saying just the right thing, man, right? They're saying just the right thing, and it's boosting up your ego, right? You'll feel you might be 5'7", but now after she's finished talking to you, she's making you feel like you're LeBron James height, man, right? You might not not be the most funny guy, but after she's talked to you, because she's trying to deceive you in some way, you'll think you're flipping Dave Chappelle out here, man. After she's done talking to you. Right? Let's carry on. Mouth is sweeter than oil, but her end is bitter as wormwood, sharp as a two-edged sword. So the end of after dealing with one of these strange, really, one of these harlot type women, is that you're going to be into a snare, man. And the more righteous you become, the more you'll realize that these types of women, when they see you, they'll try and get your attention to a certain degree for a time, but then, like, when they realize that it's not working, they'll bog out, man. They will bog them out. Or when they realize that your conversation, things that you prepare to talk about, ain't what they're talking about, they'll just be like, the aura is not, you know, the aura is not right. They just won't, and that's according to what the scriptures say, that happens. Let me carry on. Her feet go down to death. Her steps take hold on hell. So a whorish woman, anything that they do is going to lead to some man dying, man. And there's a whole bunch of men that would be in the prisons right now that have been dealing with women of this kind, man. That they once upon a time in their life dealt with a woman of this kind. And there might have been all a group of friends, that might have been 5 friends, right? And it was all boys together, right? And the one friend brings the woman around a group of friends because he's like, come on, he's trying to introduce them to he introduced his girl, as he will call him, to his friends. And then she then gets a lust in her mind and wants the attention of one of the other friends because he might be 1 centimeter taller, you know. He might have made a funny joke one day that everyone else laughed at. So she'd be like, oh, I want some of that. I want to try and be around that guy. So then now she does something with that friend. And then now that causes for the other 2 friends to fight. And one of those men might die. And then when that man's dead and the other one's in jail, now she's going to go do something with the other friend. And then he's going to find, and then that's going to cause another man to fall up in the snare, whatever it might be. And she'll just go through that whole group of friends and destroy the whole friendship group, man. And that's why, as men that are meant to be righteous, we have to be like on that thing of where if you find that a person that you know has dealt with a woman, right, then you shouldn't even deal with her, man. And by that being applied on the earth, that would get rid of a lot of the confusion and the madness, because women wouldn't be able to do this thing that's known in this so-called red pill community. They wouldn't be able to do this thing that's called and this world is mad, man. Some can see some Edomite in the distance, just like stumbling and falling over himself, man. Anyway, Salakia. These women wouldn't be able to do this thing that they call monkey branching, man, which is by where they find a man that's higher of value than the man that they're with, and then they just run off and go to that new guy. You see? They wouldn't be able to do that, man. They'd have to stay with the guy that they're with, because men would be revolted by her of knowing that she's been with another guy before him. He'd know that that land has been defiled, and he would know that he can only deal with her if the other husband is not alive anymore. And that would get rid of a lot of confusion that's in this world, man. Let me carry on reading, Salakia. Proverbs chapter 5 and verse 5. Her feet go down to death, and her steps take hold on hell. Lest thou shouldest ponder the path of life, her ways are movable, that thou canst not know them. Because she's ever changing, man. Hear me, like one guy will get with her and she'll say, oh, she likes this type of guy, right? And then she'll get with that type of guy that does that kind of thing, and then she'll change, and now she want another guy that's completely different, and then she'll be with that guy for a time, and then she'll go with another guy that's even more different. And that's why these women really, right, as far as I can see from the amount of time I've been alive, they don't even know what type of man they really like. They just like whoever their friend likes, man. Whoever every single other woman likes, that's who they like. Because they can't really choose they don't know what a good man is themselves. So they just copy whoever their friend likes. And that's why a lot of these women, despite all the claims that they say that adultery is when a man deals with another woman in general, they love to sleep with their friends' men. They love to try and, like, as soon as their friend might like a guy, they like to try and see if they can get him to like her as well. They love to do that kind of stuff, man. They're wicked, man. I remember one story that I've heard before where one woman slept with her friend's husband, right? just to prove that he would cheat on her, as this world calls it, which that's not really adultery if she was single, right? But I heard that. Let me carry on reading. Salakia. Her verse 6, lest thou should ponder the path of life, her ways are movable, that thou canst not know them. Hear me now, therefore, O ye children, and depart not from the words of my mouth. So this is like, you've got this whole red pill community, but this is the real knowledge on women anyway, right? The Bible gives you the knowledge and the ups on what women are about, man. Verse 8, remove thy way far from her, and come not nigh the door of her house. Don't be going to these women's houses, right? Don't be falling asleep in these women's houses. That's what he's saying, man. Because these women, isn't that what that rapper did recently? Didn't he go to that woman's house? A strange woman, a whorish woman. Didn't he not go to her house? Right? Did he not go to her house and got shot while he was asleep? Is that not what happened to him? Yes, it is. Did he not live a life where he glorified? Did he not live a life where he glorified in being able to do that, and he felt like that's a manly thing to be able to do? But really, the more manly thing to be able to do is what Solomon did: have 1,000 women that are all to yourself. But even more manly than that, even more manly than both, is to really, for a man to not even have to worry about women right now until the kingdom. That's even more of a higher level than both of those. That's even more of a higher level, man. For a man to just be focused completely only on dealing with the scriptures, man. But that's a hard spirit to be on. And that's why only certain men was able to do that, man. Yahweh Shai was able to do that, right? Paul was able to do that. And there's been other men that would have been able to do it, but I can't think of none of them off the top of my head other than those two, other than Yahweh Shai that I just mentioned, and Paul, because those are the ones that spring to my mind right now. Salakia. This is Proverbs chapter 5. Proverbs chapter 5 and verse 9. Lest thou give thine honor to others, and thy years unto the cruel. And that's one of the snares that men fall and have found themselves in this world, with how Esau set up this wicked society, is how they end up raising a child, right? They end up having to they end up having to be like connected to a woman that they don't care about for like a whole 18 years, and she's just been draining their resources. And then some of the times they find out that child's not theirs, and then they get told that they're supposed to still do it because then they're not a real man. And this is like this world is so aggravating. As being an Israelite man, this world is so oppressive and depressing, man. How wicked this place is, and how we're supposed to just accept the BS that this world's trying to feed us, man. They really thought that we were just gonna forever accept this BS, and now that's why they're so scared and tormented that we talk about these things, man. Because there are women of our nation, they're sad that they know if we get power, then they lose power, and they would rather the men have no power and them have power, and our nation being number 18. I mean, the last nation, than for the men to have power and the women to lose power, and for our nation to be number one. And I'll say that again, the women of our nation would much rather, right? They'd much rather all the men of our nation lose power and them to be number one of our nation, and for them to still have power in this world, but our nation be the worst nation, than for our nation to receive power from Yahweh, right? And to be changed and altered into the top nation, but then they'd have to lose power. They'd rather keep their power than do that. That's how demonic they've became, man. Verse 10. Let strangers be filled with thy wealth, which is what happens in that what's it called, man? In child support and everything like that, man. They be getting these lawyers involved. They be getting these lawyers involved with the divorces. The lawyer gets a cut on all of those crazy alimony and all that. The lawyer gets a cut on that. And I don't know what the percentages are, but a good guess, I guess, would be to say 10%. So of course the woman's gonna go for 40,000 a week, because that means that the lawyer got 4,000 a week. Of course he ain't gonna care. He don't give a damn. if your family's been ruined. He's going to be like, well, have I got £4,000 a week from me doing this? Well then, I don't care whether that family sticks together or not. I don't care if that child's going to grow up bugged out because the mum's not going to be able to handle dealing with that child when they get to a certain age. The mum's not going to handle being able to deal with her daughter at a certain age neither. She's not going to know how to handle that because she's never had to be told. She didn't get told about herself and get corrected when she was younger. She was just getting told sweet BS in her ears. So of course she's not going to be able to handle telling somebody else what the right thing to do is because she don't know herself. And despite what people want to say, man, women are not supposed to rule nothing, and the evidence is all in the earth, man. Right? I'll give one example right now on how women are not supposed to rule nothing. Right now in this world, right, you've got a lot of women that want to be trying to make equal wages to men, but then at the same time, with their so-called equal wages, they would not want to take care of their family. If by chance their husband didn't make more money than them, and people can say, "Oh, you want a woman to look after this," and try and shame it and all that. The whole point of a woman making money would surely be to spend it, right? And people are supposed to have families, right? So what should really happen? And people can get sad about this all they want. What should really happen is if there's 3 people applying for a job, the job should go to the man that's got a family. It shouldn't be going to no woman because all she's gonna do when she gets that money is spend it on BS and still be trying and start thinking that she's way more attractive than she is because she's got money, and then still be seeking after a man that makes more money than her. So what's the purpose of her money then? So she can buy shoes? Like they may as well have just stayed at home and that job that they had making that amount of money to where she's boastful. That job may as well have got given to a man, and he can look after his family with it. Because there's only so many jobs that are in the earth anyway, right? There's only so many jobs that are in the earth. So surely it would make sense to give that job to a man instead. That's going to take care of his family, right? Rather than giving it to a woman that's going to use the things to live in a expensive apartment and then be getting on TikTok talking smack all day about how she's a boss babe and how there's no real men out here and all of this BS. And then eventually not be able to pay her rent anymore and then be trying to look for some good guy to try and be some sucker to pay for everything. But let me just not do so much talking, man. Let me get into some more scriptures. Micah chapter 7 and verse 5. Trust ye not in a friend, put ye not confidence in a guide, keep the door of thy mouth from her that lieth in thy bosom. So we ain't even supposed to be like telling our women every single thing of our thoughts neither, man. And sometimes you might find yourself doing that, right? But the scriptures say that we're not even supposed to do that, really, man. For the son dishonoureth the father, the daughter riseth up against her mother, the daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. A man's enemies are the men of his own house, and that's true, man. The people of our own house, for the most part, man, especially the people of our immediate family, man, like our moms, our dads, our brothers, our sisters, right? They're our enemy, man, and they look at us like we're bugged out, man. They'll tell you you've lost your soul. They'll tell you, why you're always angry all the time. They'll tell you, oh, so you're just going to be angry all the time then? No, you're just going to be angry all the time now. They'll tell you, they're not going to let your soul be given to the devil. That you should just leave the Israelite thing alone. They'll tell you all of that BS. But when you was being a demon, then they didn't have a problem with it. Verse 7. Therefore I will look unto Yahweh. I will wait for Yahweh, my power. I will wait for Yahweh, the power of my salvation. My power will heal me, and that's what we've did. We've turned away from our families and whatever they're talking about, and we've joined on to what Yahweh's saying, man. And that's why when we say things out of our mouths, even if we're paraphrasing, we're saying the things that we say because we know that it's written in the scriptures. So if we're saying that women need to stop being whores, that's because that's written in the Bible. If we're telling the men that they need to stop selling drugs to their own people and stop having the most testosterone in the world when it comes to your own people, but then as soon as it's your real enemy, then now all of a sudden you become a kitten. You become a lion roaring at the mouth when it's your enemy, when it's your own people, I mean. But when it's your actual enemy, you ain't got nothing to say. And you just grab a placard and then you start marching. Micah chapter 7 and verse 8, rejoice not against me, O mine enemy. When I fall, I shall arise. When I sit in darkness, Yahweh shall be light unto me. I will bear the indignation of Yahweh, because I have sinned against him, until he plead my cause and execute judgment for me. He will bring me forth to the light, and I shall behold his righteousness. Then she that is mine enemy shall see, and shame shall cover her, which said unto me, where is Yahweh thy power? Mine eyes shall behold her. Now she shall be trodden down as the mire of the streets. And that's what's going to happen to a lot of our women, man. They have a problem or an offense of wearing a head wrap and covering their hair and wearing modest apparel. But then even the ones that would wear modest apparel, they'll be on some BS as well, man. But then at the same time as our women being on BS, right, and being on that proud stuff, if there was to see a so-called black man walking down the street with a Moabite, right, with a Chinese woman, then they'll start bugging out. Oh, you eating with that? Right? If there's a see walking down the street with an Indian woman, then they're going to bug out. And we already know the main one. If there was to see walking down the street with an Edomite woman, then they're going to bug out and say, oh, you can't handle a real woman like me, as if we have to flipping grab a lasso like a cowboy, grab a cowboy hat, grab a big lasso rope, chase him down on a horse, spin it around and throw it over there and damn lasso her down, man. Like we got like it's bucking Broncos around here or something, man. Like we got to like how like how people tame a horse when they get on a horse and they like ride the horse and flipping the horse is trying to buck them off and all of that. That's how these women try and go on. Like that's how we have to deal with them, man. Like it's a wild animal that has to be trained, like it's a fire-breathing dragon that you have to train how to not puff smoke or something like that. But when all hell breaks loose, a lot of these women, we're not gonna deal with them, man. It's just clear. Like some hood rat that wears a shower cap outside, right, with socks and sandals, in the day of the Lord's wrath. You think you're gonna be trying to deal with that, and she weighs 200 pounds. If you gotta run somewhere, mate, what's she gonna do, man? She ain't gonna have the cardio to run up that from one corner of the street, from one end of the street to the other. You think you're gonna have to want to deal with that in that time with a lot of these women? Just look at the images of these women that I'm showing on this screen. You think you're gonna want to deal with that in that time, man? The one image, I think there's the one image where the woman's being like picked up in the air by a guy from the KKK. Who's gonna want to deal with that in the day of the Lord's wrath, man? When all hell's breaking loose in the world, who's gonna want to deal with that? Really, if it wasn't for the fact that we have our own women in particular, for the most part, a lot of brothers might not even want to deal with any of these women until the kingdom comes in that time, man. The women are going to be an offense unto them in a lot of cases. So they're going to have to come correct to all the brothers that they're going to come towards, man. They're going to have to be extra humble, man. There's not going to be no pride in them. But a lot of the women are going to get rejected. This is Isaiah chapter 4 and verse 1. In that day, 7 women shall take hold of one man, saying, we will eat our own bread and wear our own apparel. Only let us be called by thy name to take away our reproach. And the men in that day, a lot of the men that think that they're tough guys, they're not even going to be around. Isaiah chapter 3 and verse 25. Thy men shall fall by the sword, and thy mighty men in the war, and her gates shall lament and mourn, and she being desolate shall sit upon the ground. And in that day, 7 women shall take hold of one man, saying, we will eat our own bread and wear our own apparel. Only let us be called by thy name to take away our reproach. But a lot of these women, we're not going to give them our name, man. Because we're going to have had to do a lot of things to have that name, right? I don't think a lot of these people actually understand what an Israelite goes through. From a low-level Israelite that's not even known and not even great among us, right? Like a person like me, for example, right? This is not a thing to make about me, but a person like that's not, I don't even want to say me. I don't want to use me as an example, man. A person that's not really known, they they will have to go through things too. They have to learn the scriptures, right? They're having to step away from evil. They're having to fight against the lusts of their own heart, right? And they're having to want to learn this thing, man. And that comes with a whole bunch of spiritual battles within itself. But what our people are about, man, what they're gonna think that they can just come in at the end of it, like how you do in the world. That's how things work in the world, man. Where a guy might have said, "I'm gonna be a movie star," and all the women that he grew up around was like, "Yeah, right, whatever." And then he goes through the process. He starts learning how to do the different faces, the one where he looks and turns away for when he's sad and all of that. He learns how to do the accents, and then he ends up in a few movies, like a few light things. He might have been an extra, and then the woman's paying attention. Oh, I saw he was an extra, but that's not really a big time Hollywood blockbuster, though, is it? And then he finds out that the guy was in a TV show. She's like, oh yeah, but that's only like EastEnders level. That's not really, you know what I mean? And then he might get a couple, 1, 2 roles where he's like got a few lines in a big time movie, but she's like, yeah, but he wasn't the star of it though, right? And then he ends up in that blockbuster, and then the next thing you know, she all of a sudden remembered his phone number from way back when he was young, and she calls him up, and all of a sudden wants to know him now, and then he accepts her. That's how things work in the world. But in this thing, that's not how it's gonna work, man. A lot of those women are gonna get access completely denied, man. And that's where you see the side of it, of the things that of this day that's coming, where it says that women are gonna be trodden down as the mire of the streets. But then on the other side, you see that 7 women are gonna take hold of one man, saying we'll eat our own bread and wear our own apparel. They ain't gonna be requiring no what's this new one I've heard, man? 6, 7, 8, right? These women have got so many bugged out doctrines, which goes into how it says that they're movable, their ways are movable. This 6, 7, 8 thing, from what I've heard, is the man has to be 6 feet tall, right? He has to make 7 figures, and then the 8, we already know what I'm talking about regarding that, man. I don't need to say it, man. We already know what they're requiring of the 8. But then that woman herself will be 200 pounds. 200 pounds. Like, there's literally men in this world that are 6'4" and they are not 200 pounds. But there's a whole bunch of our women that are 200 pounds, and then their excuse is always, oh, my thyroid this, my thyroid that, right? As if there's not 2,500 calories going in down their throat for breakfast. They're eating too much, man. Just that how if we get in a put on a bit of weight, we know that we're eating too much too. We're eating too much sugar, you know. We know that in ourselves, so we know that they're chatting when they say otherwise. And so lucky if I've been doing too much talking, man. But the points that I'm making, Lord will, they're in line with what the scripture saith. Let me find this scripture. Maybe it's 1 Corinthians then. This is 1 Corinthians chapter 4 and verse 7. Because our people have to boast and flex in themselves, and that's why they can't humble themselves, man, because they've got a particular quality that they find enjoyable about themselves because they're Israelites. So Yahweh would have gave them at least one thing that they can glory in themselves. That's like a quality that he's gave them. But he doesn't want them to glory in it. He wants them to praise Yahweh for all things. But they don't do it, so they fail the test. 1 Corinthians chapter 4 and verse 7. For who maketh thee to differ from another? And what hast thou that thou didst not receive? Now if thou didst receive it, why dost thou glory as if thou hadst not received it? And that's what our nation stumbles at, man. They might become very rich, and rather than thanking Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai that they became rich, they thank themselves. They say, oh, well, it was me that knew to study these stocks, or it was me that had the skill to know how to box. It was me that did remember the lines in the movies and learned how to pull all the faces to be able to draw the emotions out of the crowd. Or it was me that learned how to connect these words and these vowels and these syllables with poetry. Or it was me that learned how to make this particular car, or how to drive this particular car. Or or it was me that understood how to kick the ball in the top left-hand corner every single time, or it was me that learned how to hit the three-pointers. It wasn't Yahweh that gave it me. That's what they start thinking. And that's what Moses warned us about as a nation. He said, what did he say, man? Jeshurun waxed fat and kicked. And that's what our nation did, man. We got built up by Yahweh. He gave us the way to follow. And then we started getting proud and thought it was our own way. And that caused us to fall, man. And that's what this whole lesson's about. For anyone that might have got through this, all the things that I've been saying, the overall purpose of this lesson is for our people to turn away from the way that we've been, man. Because as you can see from those images that you've seen on this video, our people are destroyed, man. Both the southern kingdom and the northern. Isaiah chapter 14 and verse 1. O Israel, return unto Yahweh thy power, for thou hast fallen by thine iniquity. And that's what our people struggle to fight, struggle to really understand, man, is that the reason why we're in the state that we're in is because we're not keeping God's laws, man. And this isn't a thing of me just pushing Yahweh's laws, because it's not just about the laws. It's about we also don't want to accept Yahweh Shai as well. Right? We want to try and accept everything else. Our people accepted Joe Biden before they accepted Yahweh Shai. Right? They accepted Barack Obama before they accepted Yahweh Shai. They accepted Kevin Samuels before they accepted Yahweh Shai. They accepted DMX before they accepted Yahweh Shai. They accepted all of these Chicago rappers that have been getting killed before they accepted Yahweh Shai. Right? They accepted Barabbas before they accepted Yahweh Shai. They accepted everybody else before they accepted Yahweh Shai. And it's only that remnant that accepted Yahweh Shai, man. And that's why when all's said and done, the world's going to really see how much these men that Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai set up on the earth, the world's going to really see how much they really do believe in Yahweh and why they believed in him as well. Right? The world's going to get to see exactly why they believed in him, man. This is Wisdom of Solomon chapter 12 and verse 17. For men will not believe that thou art full of power, meaning Yahweh. For men will not believe that thou art full of power, thou showest thy strength. And among them that know it, thou makest their boldness manifest. And that's what Yahweh's getting ready to do. He's getting ready to make it be known why certain men was bold in whatever particular way they was bold, man. Whether they was bold in a small matter, with a faith as a mustard seed, or whether they was brave in a bold matter, faith the size of an avocado. You know? He's going to show why. Because they had the extreme foresight and the extreme foreknowledge to be able to picture in their mind this society crumbling. Where some people can only see like to whenever the next payday is. That's how far they can see in the future. Or they can see from Monday to Friday. So I do work Monday to Friday and then I get paid. Or I do work Monday to Friday and then it's the weekend and I go to the pub. That's what some people's life and their reality is. As deep as that. That's as far as it goes for some people. If you start talking about Bibles and stuff like that, their mind starts switching off and they'll be like, yeah, but when's the football games on, mate? Excuse me. Let me turn it up. Come on, ref. It's definitely a penalty, mate. That's as far as their mind goes, man. Wisdom of Solomon chapter 12 verse 1 again. For men will not believe that thou art full of power, thou showest thy strength, and among them that know it, thou makest their boldness manifest. All right? And that's what Yahweh is getting ready to do, man. He's getting ready to show why Israelites believed in Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. And he's getting ready to make the world be confounded and realize that all the things that they believed in was foolishness and vanity. And I'm going to end the lesson there, man, because so lucky if I did way too much talking of my own words, man. I should have really kept it towards the scriptures more, man. But yeah, I'm going to end the lesson there. All praises to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Makar Dash, and Shalom to the nation of Israel. Shalom.